Quindi chiamo sul palco per l'introduzione al keynote della distribuzione Richard Wiegmann, che è il Chief Executive Officer di Trust International. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
The stage is all yours.
Giancarlo, grazie mille, buongiorno signore e signore. È un grande piacere per me di essere qui con lei alla BTO e di parlare di visione. Visione della distribuzione di prodotti viaggi e in particolare del campo alberghiero. Okay. That's all I speak in Italian, and I have to admit, thank you very much, I have to admit, someone in the marketing department in my company wrote this down for me, and I was training this for 6 months. Ever since Giancarlo called me to do this today, I was training it for 6 months with the owner of the Italian restaurant next to our office. And guess what? It works better after a glass of red wine. I didn't do it this morning, sir. I did not do it this morning. I'm really sorry for the translator to have confused you. Where are you? Are you over there? Hello there. It was not my plan to confuse you, and I'm going to buy you a coffee, okay? After this. But speaking about distribution, ladies and gentlemen, isn't it sometimes confusing? It is a confusing world that we live in when we want to sell our travel products around the globe. And sometimes, you know, when you go on holidays for 3 or 4 days, well, I live in Germany, so you can go on holidays for 2 weeks, you come back to the office and the people are speaking about things you've never heard about. Because at this point in time, somewhere on this planet, someone comes up with a new idea to sell your product online. And guess what? They want to have 15, 20, 25% for it, and you've never heard about the idea before. So there is a lot of confusion in travel distribution, and by no means I will be able to solve the confusion here today, but what I would like to do, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to inspire you a little bit to think about the approach to travel distribution and how you sell your products. I have 3 parts basically. I want to speak about the status quo. What's going on? I know it's a very, very negative picture, and actually it is not that bad. If you prefer this more, yeah, it looks a little better, but I would like to give you an update what's going on, not just here in Italy, but all over the world, to compare the markets a little bit, and to what Phil also said, to give you a little bit of an insight, what's happening in other markets and what might come to Italy relatively soon. I want to speak about what's next. I was reading the Financial Times on the flight to Florence yesterday, and I've seen that Alitalia, anyone from Alitalia in here? Any lawyers from Alitalia? Do I have to be careful? No? Good. I read that Alitalia got 300 million euros, dollars, I'm not really sure. Probably they're going to buy a flying saucer and fly to the moon. You never know. This is about competitive advantages in these days, and they probably have to look for their competitive advantage. But clearly what I would like to do today, I'd like to speak a little bit about what is it we have to look after in the future. How is distribution going to change? Again, by no means I will be able to give you all answers. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, let's speak a little bit about strategy. The big problem in distribution is that people are not speaking enough about strategy. Strategy is important. I'm teaching at a university in Holland, and I'm speaking about nothing but strategy with the students on distribution. In the first half year, you will not hear the name Expedia or Priceline or Google. We're just speaking and teaching about strategy to later on attack and solve the problem of distribution. Is that a deal? Shall we do it that way? Okay, very good. Well, first of all, before we're getting started on the topics, I would like to introduce myself to you. I think you might think, you know, what the hell, who is this German guy here up on stage who wants to speak about distribution? And I want to speak about myself, which I'm very good at, actually, but to give you a little bit an insight of what I do on a daily basis. Well, I'm the proud father of these 2 boys. That keeps me awake at night, and kids and presentations on pictures always work. But what you see clearly here, one is a little bit smarter than the other. I love dad, I love mom. But they're twins, and my wife is changing the shirt, so I get completely confused. So there is the confusion again. Yeah, it's even at home. Where Where is he? There he is. I was born in Dubai. And I grew up in Dubai. That was in the mid-70s. A very, very different place to what it is today, I have to tell you. And there are no videos. There are these old Super 8 things from my dad. And there is one where I was running down Jumeirah Beach with our dog. If you would do that today, for those of you who know Dubai, you will fall over lots of Russian tourists and deck chairs. It was a very, very different place back that day. It's an amazing time to grow up, actually. Today, I live in Germany. We have a sheikh as well. Her name is Angela. She rules the country like a sheikh. At least it feels sometimes like that. But that's enough for politics I want to do today here. And I think she's in charge for another 4 years. At least that's what I saw on the news. How do I get to travel distribution? Okay, I'm not in technology. Don't ask me any technology questions. I've studied history of art. And the problem with history of art is, or the good thing is, you can spend your days and your time in fantastic places like Florence. Actually, you pretend to understand the art, which is not true, yeah, but you pretend to understand the art. The problem is to find a job later on that feeds the family. Yeah, so number one, you can become a tour guide. Doesn't feed the family. Number two option in Germany is to become a taxi driver if you study history of art. Not a good thing either. Number three, I always wanted to be like Indiana Jones. Yeah, like in the movies. Halfway down the university, I found out he's an archaeologist. Yeah, so that didn't work either. So I said, all right, I got to do something with travel. Worked for airlines, worked for Expedia for a long time. And I'm now working for Trust International as the Chief Executive Officer since 6 years. And we recently sold our business in July of this year to a private equity company based in Boston. There are a lot of things I love your country for, and this is the last private slide. I love your food, I love your red wine, but I especially like your bikes. Yeah? This is where I'm trying to spend the week on. And for those of you who know these bikes, that is a Ducati. That is a Ducati Panigale, which is my favorite toy since June of this year. If you don't see me next year here on stage, either my speech was horrible or I did something wrong with the bike. Yeah, but it's absolutely amazing. And this is, you know, if you think about made in Italy, you guys should be proud of that. That's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Okay, let's turn to business, the status quo. You remember the days in the 90s when we were all at a concert, we were singing, dancing. Unfortunately, I was singing and dancing because I'm definitely the worst singer and dancer in the world. But we all did, and it looked like this. You've seen that before? Come on, some of the guys is you, right? That's how it looks today. Isn't that boring? We're twittering, we're blogging, we're making photos instead of having fun. Okay, that's my personal view, I have to say. Probably these people have fun. And you might ask, what has that to do with travel distribution? The answer is a lot. Because that has changed behavior. And how do we react as hoteliers, as airline people, to this changing behavior to also capture this audience going forward? Very, very important. I love this slide. This is exactly a minute on the web. This is what happens in a minute on the web. This is where you have the chance to attract your customers. So, 70 newly registered domains, 15,000 songs downloaded from iTunes, 105,000 euros in trade volume sold by eBay, 204 million emails sent in 1 minute. And half of them end up in my inbox. At least it feels like it. Yeah? And I'm sure it's the same for you. Snapchat, 104,000 photos. Where is Skype? Skype, 1.4 million chats executed in 1 lousy minute on the internet. So, and where is your sale? Where are you? Where are you on this? You need to grab the attention. How do we do that? I tell you something, and this is just a couple of other words for what was said in the panel before me. This is the magic. And the magic has not changed over the years. We're just using very different media. We need to inspire the customer. We need to allow the customer to search. We need to allow the customers to book, to experience, for instance, if you have a hotel at your place, and then afterwards we need to allow them to reflect. It's always been the case, and it's not just for the travel industry. It is always the case. This is how you attract business, online and offline. So, how can we get better at exactly doing this customer journey for our accounts? Now, if you look at the industry performance, it looks probably a little bit bad. And I'm looking at hospitality here now and won't read all of that to you, but just to get you a little bit more informed. Clearly, what stands out here is Asia Pacific and Europe, and I'm showing occupancy, average daily rate, and RevPAR, which is revenue per available room. And without going into details, you can see Asia Pacific is down. Why is that? It's a combination of two things. One is natural disasters, unfortunately, but the way bigger thing in all of Asia is oversupply. An absolute oversupply of hotel rooms in the 4- and 5-star segment especially. If you look at Europe, the picture is a little bit different. The occupancy actually is all right. Average daily rate and revenue per available room is an absolute nightmare for investors in these days. The Americas are coming back. It works quite well actually there. But have a look at Middle East and Africa. And this is mainly driven by Africa. And one of the questions that was not asked earlier, what is the next continent to watch if you want to sell travel distribution? Go Africa. It's unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable. About 6 years ago, we had the first customer in Iraq, in Erbil. And everybody in the company said, Richard, why do you do that? It just doesn't make any sense. Actually, do you want to travel there? And I said, no, thank you. The average rates we're generating with that property, in the meantime we have 3 there, is absolutely phenomenal. For the lack of choice, there is no choice actually, it's an absolute safe place, but the average room rate per day is 600 euros for a lousy standard room, excluding breakfast, excluding internet. Yeah? That is definitely a market to watch. If you go to Africa, and if you forget a developed Africa for a moment, which is South Africa, to a certain extent neighboring countries, it's unbelievable what is possible there in terms of generated sales, and especially if you take a look at the consumers developing in this part of the world as well. Channel mix is something we're speaking later on about strategy, clearly something you have to watch out for. And if you look at this, the only thing I really want to show here is look at the 2012 to 2013 comparison here and just have a look at OTA. 5% up, and that is an average number across the world from chain properties. The IBE, the .com side of the hotel, is only up by 2%, and GDS is shrinking. Now, there are many, many reasons for this, and a statistic is as wrong as a statistic is right in these days. However, it clearly shows a picture that the travel mix or the channel mix is changing, and what is it you can do about that? If you take a typical city property, a year ago, the internet to GDS ratio looked like this. Today, it looks like this. That's the same store comparison. So, have we done something wrong? Or did someone else did something right? For instance, Priceline. Let's dig a little bit deeper and do a comparison to North America and international. And in the previous session, it was said whatever happens in America today happens 5 years later in Italy. By the way, I don't believe that is the case anymore, especially not for travel distribution, because the vibes, the innovation, they're coming from many, many parts of the world, not just from North America. But what you see here is the big difference on the GDS and OTA side. GDS is clear for a long time. That is a tool that is more used in the United States or in North America in general. But look at OTA and look at the direct business. That is quite a significant difference. And that is one of the reasons why the average cost of distribution for a hotel in North America is about 15% lower than for a hotel in Europe. And again, the answer is mix. The big question is, how can you influence the mix? Again, here you see a little bit of an ADR. That's the generated revenue, average distributed revenue by channel as well. And you clearly see those are the channels you should concentrate on. Have a look at your ADR, and I'm sure most of you have done that. And those are the channels where your business is coming from. And this is where you need to take a look at. In terms of growth, that is a 2011, 12, and 13 comparison. It exactly shows where the business is coming from. Those are the big players. And it's quite interesting if you look at it, because if you take a look at the largest global travel retail companies, I'm just speaking about retail companies, Air China or Las Vegas Sands, they're a lot bigger than this. There are a couple of very old traditional style companies in there. But clearly, in terms of the revenue, Priceline and Expedia, they did it. They did just something better than the traditional travel agents. And the question that I'm always asking in Europe is not necessarily about the BCDs and American Expresses. Think about it. 10 years ago, if you have a hotel, your business came from TUI, Thomas Cook, DER, and whatever their names were. And look at the portion of the share of business you get from them today compared to these guys. They clearly missed the boat in many ways. And they're trying to catch up now. Something to watch, definitely, but this is very important for the mixed discussion we're having later on as well. And finally, all of our business cases are supported by IATA, the lovely IATA, and it just says, look at the airline passenger numbers, that is a 2012 number here, but it's going to grow to 5.9 billion in 2030, plus 26 million jobs on the airline side. Finally, we will get some service from the airlines, hopefully. And look at the economic value. All of this is driving business going forward and already today. So those are sort of the indicators you need to have a look at when you think about your distribution strategy and what you want to do going forward. Okay, so what's next? We're speaking about Ctrip. The Chinese travelers, probably not news to you, but when we implemented Ctrip on our system, which is about 3 years ago, we had a growth of nearly 2,000% in bookings. I'm just counting transactions, that's what I live from, nearly 2,000% in bookings. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what we're seeing there, and there is a lot more to come. Mobile, you know, about 20% of all travel sales today, and 37% of consumers worldwide are using their smartphones for any sort of travel search. Social media, and this is just the global penetration, 44% across developed world, 29% in developing nations, and finally, 56% of all corporate travel dollars in the United States are expected to be spent online in 2013. Actually, I saw a number last week at a conference. They're going to exceed this number. They're going to exceed this number, and it will be close to 60%. That's where online travel, from a corporate perspective, is heading to. Augmented reality. I'd like to invite you to go, if you have a moment, to the website of the Copenhagen Airport. If you've never been, it's an amazing airport to change flights. It's very convenient. But what they've done is they've implemented a 360 view, a 360 project actually was, which covers the whole airport. You can basically say, I'm arriving at gate A1. I have to leave at gate A99, which is normally the case, so you've got to walk 99 gates. But I want to stop for a coffee in between, and I want to have a 15 minutes lunch break. And they show you exactly how you can walk through the property. And they're already preparing for Google Glasses as well. In real time, they're going to show you the average waiting time you're going to have at customs. You're going to have at passport control. This is what the customer wants to see going forward. Now, what does that mean to travel distribution? There are opportunities in there for travel businesses as well. Okay, they might be close to the airport, but think about someone who's got a 6 hours layover at an airport. Clearly, we can feed content in there and generate additional revenues. Is that the future? Is that nothing that we're doing today? According to what Phil said, let's be real. We know how we make our money today, but let's not forget how crazy the internet thought in 1994 and what it is today. So those things will happen. I like this one, personalization and information. That's the world where I'm coming from on the airline side. A big issue in one of the largest domestic travel markets, China, was the fact that not a lot of people had smartphones, so the barcodes didn't work. Hands-on at China just put up a couple of terminals. They're reading the text from the check-in invitation, from the text message basically, and then they're printing the boarding pass for the customer. We spoke about this. Travelocity is teaming up with longtime rival Expedia. I was very much surprised. Actually, no, it's probably wrong. The better way of saying that is, I was surprised that these two are teaming up. It was not a question that Travelocity is going nowhere. And probably in addition to what was said before, I think Sabre, just shortly before an IPO, they probably had to clean up their balance sheet and get rid of them. Meta searches buying OTAs, Priceline buying Kayak. Again, 3 years ago, people would have said that's never going to happen. I might add to the stories, also the big OTAs need a little bit of a Wall Street story. Most of them are publicly traded. So that was definitely good in terms of innovation, in terms of moving a step ahead. But they're doing a very, very good job in integrating these guys. I believe Google is taking its Hotel Finder serious. We see at least increasing numbers. We were amongst the first ones to connect about 2 years ago. I was expecting more. But are they still keeping me awake at night? They clearly do. They clearly do, and also my customers. There are new ideas every day. Some of them were mentioned, and they were a topic at Focusrite as well, where you can basically rent your car from someone else at the airport. So if you have a chance, have a look at BlaBlaCars or Flightcars. Last Minute is growing substantially. The investor I'm having is also an investor in Hotel Tonight, which is here represented as well. And the numbers we're seeing there are absolutely amazing. There is a very good conversion or big conversion between mobile and social. And definitely for the sales process, that is something you need to look after and look for. Content is king. Research shows that everything more than 6 pictures that describe your property or 1 video doubles the chance of a successful closed sale. Obviously good photos, obviously a good video. We live in a multi-channel world. I'm always saying, channels are not booking hotel rooms. Customers are booking hotel rooms. And we speak about the strategy on that a little bit later on. But you clearly have to open up, to a multi-channel environment if you haven't done so. The traditional businesses or the traditional way of receiving businesses, they need to be changed. And finally, rate parity and search. A big discussion. We're going to speak probably later on in the interview about that as well. There is a huge discussion at the European Union going on rate parity. I've got no clue where it is going. If rate parity is going away, and a lot of hoteliers believe that's fantastic, it's going to solve all of my problems. Ladies and gentlemen, it will not. It will increase your search cost. If you're able to make that up by a higher room rate, by a higher ADR, that's a great thing. But let's see where that one goes. Clearly something that we need to watch out for. And then finally, a 360 system solution. You got to integrate your systems. And I'm a IT salesman, and I shouldn't say that probably, but there are simply systems out there that are not meant to talk to each other. However, you have to make sure that the systems you have in your back office are talking to each other in order to accomplish all the challenges that you have in a multi-channel environment. That can be property management systems, that can be yield management systems, clearly reservation systems, that can be channel managers of whatever sort, but those systems have to be integrated because the world is going to be more complicated and not easier. Okay, finally, your very personal distribution strategy. Obviously, it's very difficult to give you a personal distribution strategy. So we've had this before. We have the inspiration, the search, the booking, the experience, and the reflection, the customer journey. Clearly, what you want to do, once the customer experienced your product, you don't want him to get inspiration again and probably book somewhere else. You want to direct him directly to search, or even better, directly to your booking. That is A, cheaper, and B, they're never going to stay with the competition. It's perfect, actually. So, in order to get there, you simply have to have a proper strategy. It doesn't work just on a tactical basis. You have to rethink your distribution approach. And I call it the soccer approach. Now, as a German in Italy, I shouldn't probably speak about soccer. And I'll keep it to distribution here, okay? But if you look at it, and I call it the distribution design playbook, and these are the key elements you need when you speak about distribution for your product going forward. Number one, distribution strategy is driven by the business strategy. It's not just about selling your hotel room. It's a wider approach. You need to include everyone in your hotel, everyone in your business on the strategy. The strategy is not executed by a new IT system. Ladies and gentlemen, new IT systems are not the solution for a strategy. They're supporting a strategy. They're not the solution. And guess what? The new manager who comes in with many ideas, the new VP of marketing and who leaves after 6 months again, he is not the guy who is making the strategy as well. A good strategy is sustainable. And we live in a world sustainable competitive advantages. They don't exist anymore. I know it is very tough to say that. I believe a sustainable competitive advantage does not exist anymore. It's more like a transient competitive advantage. And you have to change your strategy accordingly. So, this is the key first element. It is driven by the overall strategy and not just by the channels you want to sell through. Number two, as I said before, the design of a distribution strategy is a holistic approach. You need to include the whole business. You need to include the front office, you need to include the kitchen. It's good if you include the owners as well in your strategy, but you have to decide what sort of business is it that you want. 3, distribution design for the future is better than design for now. Oh, great, Richard. Very, very wise. Unfortunately, when I speak to hoteliers, it's very, very tactical. Don't try to solve your 2 days problem. Don't try to solve your Friday problem. You have to take a complete approach and you have to solve your distribution for the future. Don't try to fix a problem that you have today. It might be part of the tactical solutions later on to fix that problem, but think about it going forward. Actually, it's logical. Why do I have to stand up here on stage and say it? But you always have to think about it again, because we're all in business. And we're getting a problem, we're looking at the problem, we want to fix it now. We do some duct tape around the problem instead of completely fixing it. And only if you do that, you will be successful in the customer journey. A continuous reconfiguration is needed. Rethink your business. And I have a very nice example here. Las Vegas. Las Vegas, the city of sin, permanently reinvents itself. And this is actually, I wasn't at this one, I was at another one. This is when they basically, let all the old properties go, all the old hotels go. They're not sad about that. They're having a party, a bottle of champagne, and they're celebrating, hey, another, I think it was a Hilton here, is now gone as well, and they're building something new. And a couple of years ago, Vegas realized, the city of sin and the city of gambling doesn't really work that much anymore because other cities are doing it as well. So they became a convention place. And they were very, very successful with that. And after a while, that sustainable competitive advantage went away. And the guys in Vegas thought, all right, what's next? What is it Las Vegas should be going forward? A place for families? Probably not. Yeah? So they decided to make it a place for experience, for food lovers, for theater, for musical. And that's what it is today. And they're going to change that again. So permanent reconfiguration on what your sustainable advantages are. The problem is you have to change that probably sometimes every 6 to 8 to 12 months. But that's the world we're in. And you have to make that part of your strategy. Think ahead. Healthy disengagement. Stop doing things. Just don't continue things because your predecessor did them. Stop doing things, even though your boss says, listen, we've done this for the past 20 years. Example here. We have an office in New York, and I normally stay at the Hilton Hotel, which is very close. And it's close to Central Park, and about a year ago, they stopped doing room service. Unheard of in the Hilton world. And now a lot of travelers, also from our company, and they're saying they can't do that. Why are they stopping room service? The answer is they couldn't make any money on it. And they're owned by a private equity company, Blackstone, and they want to see the money. So they just stopped doing it. And if you know this hotel, there are tons of restaurants around it, so you just go to those restaurants. It's perfectly fine. But they simply disengaged. They just moved out. They said, even though it's absolutely a traditional thing, we're not doing it anymore. And all of you can do that as well. Think about your business. It might hurt. You might need to change practices, and sometimes you have to change people as well, which is hard, I know. But then your business is successful, and that is, what we've heard before, separates the winners from the losers. Finally, and I think I said that before, the design of a distribution strategy is a fundamental process. It's not a repair job. Don't do it on a Friday afternoon, between 3 and 4, and put in your calendar, let's do strategy. It is not the case. And you might have realized I haven't mentioned a single channel in the last slides here. Channels are not important for your strategy. I know, it sounds weird, but they are not. You need to come up with a general solution. What sort of customer do you want to have? And as I said before, a channel never made a booking. A customer is making a booking. And you have to see what customers you want, and later on, based on the strategy, based on the earning goals that you have, you do a nice design of channels that you want to do business with. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Just stay here. Stay here.
Okay.
We have the boys bring in the chairs.
Oh, they look very comfortable.
They are very comfortable.
Very comfortable. All right, well, let's see that.
I think this is the Italian flag chairs.
All right. Oh, yes.
We have one missing.
Sitting here.
Sorry for the chairs, but you have to complain with the architect, with Luigi, which is the architect.
Are you sure they don't have to be upside down? No? Okay. I'm not sure. Okay.
We'll see that. I'll call on stage Gloria Puig-Sainz from Expedia, which will be one of the interviewers from Richard. Which part of the flag are you taking?
I'll take the red
You
one.
take the red, okay. And Luciano Scauri, how should I present Luciano? It's one-man band in tourism.
I'll take the green seat.
You take the green. So Richard, you should.
Okay. Huh? Is that the hot seat?
Yes.
Is that the hot seat? Okay.
The hot seat,
All right.
Are you sure this is working? I'll stay here in case you fall down.
To sit on. So it was really very
Speak loud.
a speech with
Luciano.
full of inspiration.
Thank you.
And I just marked down a number of things I would like to.
You're not
then-
joking about my Italian?
No,
very
absolutely
good.
not. Which was fine. And one of the very, very, very first thing that impressed me was this slide stating and showing the different market share of all the different distribution channels. And so I was just wondering what could be the strategy for us in order to increase the GDS productions, especially in a country like Italy, in where not all the cities have a real big corporate market. And so even going on the GDS, which shows being a channel that is providing the highest revenue or the highest ADR, so what could be a strategy in joining that market that has been typically business to business or corporate?
It's very difficult to do, I have to say, at this point. It's not like attracting people to your website, for instance. The GDS market globally is a very corporate-driven market, and if you don't have that corporate business, you will lack the respective GDS bookings. It's a little bit different in North America, where a lot of the leisure business, a good portion of the leisure business is going through GDSs as well, like to the Caribbean. And for instance, for our resorts in the Caribbean, we see unusually high numbers of GDS bookings, whereas for instance for Mallorca or for the Canary Islands, I literally do not see any. The point is, if you have the chance to engage in a corporate account, then you should do it, and then the GDS businesses will come, but it's pretty much a corporate game. So if the corporate business is not there, there is very little chance to increase that.
So you forget about GDS. You go.
Richard, you've talked about distribution, getting a good mixture within the hotel. Distribution can be confusing and expensive for hotels. So what they should be doing to ensure they have the right mixture?
Okay, well, I don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately, and if I would have the perfect answer for that, I would sell it for an awful lot of money. I don't. But what I wanted to say, especially in the last part of the presentation, have a look at what business you would like to have. Obviously, there is sort of the economical situation of your hotel, for instance. You know how much money you want to make, how much money you have to pay in rent, and so on and so forth. But you have to basically figure out what sort of business is it that you want to have. And then, if you just I think this is the biggest mistake that is done, and the very expensive mistake, if you just let the business drop in, you know, like I'm opening up my hotel to 400 channels and, you know, I accept whatever business comes in, then you're lost. That's not a strategy, yeah? You need to focus on what is important and what is good to your market. Have a look at what your peers are doing. Sometimes copying is not bad, yeah? Have a look at what the peers are doing and see if that, you know, is a good plugin for your distribution as well. A generic answer like, you know, 20% Expedia, 5% Priceline is simply not there. I own a hotel myself, and basically I'm telling my GM the maximum I'm willing to accept is 12% in commission across the board, and we're well below that.
Grazie. Richard, I like your statement that says no channel has ever made a booking, which is absolutely fabulous. And I also like your statement that the main goal is making money. Okay. So the question is, if channels are not making reservations or not providing enough bookings, we've been assisting of an increase of the number of distribution channels hoteliers are on in order to distribute and promote their product. And beside this number of distribution channels to look after and take care of, we have also the hotel website, the GDS, the social, the rate shoppers, the benchmark, reputation, revenue management, PMS. So there's really a lot of technology to look after in the everyday business. Now, the question is technology really still adding value to our everyday task, or is it just draining power and energy out of the everyday task for a hotelier or travel people or travel business?
Well, here comes my answer. As a salesman, IT is amazing. IT solves everything. IT is super. IT is fantastic. What else you want to hear? Okay, now that's a salesman answer. The realistic answer is IT is fantastic. IT is great. IT helps you accomplishing a lot of your business goals. The question is, IT has never solved the business problem. That's what I wanted to say about the strategy as well. Don't buy a system and then hoping everything's going to be fine. You know, as a different example, we operate SAP in our company for billing, and we've also implemented the HR tool. And I have to say, former senior vice president of HR basically promised me that everything is going to be great with the new HR tool, and you know, we can do reviews online and do the paychecks online. And guess what? It didn't work. It wasn't the fault of SAP. It is important to realize that whatever you buy in terms of technology, and I do realize there is a new technology sales guy coming to your property every second day with the latest and the greatest, most likely, it doesn't solve your problem. Take a holistic approach. See what systems you really need. Where does the business come from? When we speak about PMS systems, for instance, where the availability and the rates are sitting, there should be a seamless connectivity to the central reservation system, because that's where the business comes from. If you got a big property, you should have a reservation download. Those are the things you're really very tactical. Those are the things you need to think about. If at the end of the day you need a yield management system for a 12-room property, probably not. 600 rooms, absolutely. And then you need to integrate those systems as well. So, long answer, the shorter version to that question is you can absolutely use technology to make your life easier. Just be careful.
when it works. I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
this is the point, as you clearly mentioned. You need technology to be absolutely fully integrated. I mean, they need to speak each other, but also
Absolutely.
on the market. I mean, I found myself more than once in a position that I was the individual that had to go to speak to this company and then this other company, I mean the PMS company, then the revenue management company, then the booking engine company, to talk each other in order to develop the integration. And so this maybe something shouldn't happen.
Well, you need to find a partner that does all of it. And there are companies out there who are doing all of this, like from PMS to Yield to CRM database to booking engine, whatever you need. Got to be very careful now. I haven't seen a very good, cheap, or affordable is probably the better word, solution out there for the hospitality industry. I have not yet.
Right, but then you will have kind of all your eggs in one basket.
And that is another risk as well. But that's great for strategy, Never put all of your eggs into one basket,
Right.
And then clearly we all know who that provider is. It's very dangerous.
So on the previous panel, we've heard also about mobile and the number of bookings now made via mobile. How is this changing the way hotels, alters, reservation systems operate? Is this having a major effect?
No, actually not. Because at the end of the day, for the reservation system itself, it's just another channel. You need to obviously provide connectivity. You need to provide certain technology, like cutoff dates and things like that. We're, for instance, market leader in Japan, which is a very special market with very special customer demands. Last-minute bookings, for instance, were always big in Japan. And it's the business people, who are in the city drinking, partying, and then the last train runs at like 11 o'clock, and they need a hotel room. It happens. It's a big business, actually. And they need a hotel room, and they want to book it now, including a six-pack of beer in that room. So that's sort of the package they get. And most of that is booked mobile when they're basically leaving the bar or wherever they are. So we've always had a very, very high mobile penetration. What it does, mobile reduces the lead time. Mobile reduces the time from booking to arrival. But I think that is just the nature of things.
What about for hotels?
Especially for hotels.
Richard, you said that nowadays, in times of new perception of value, you said that hotel needs to be sophisticated in how you tell the story about the property to different audiences. So the question is, how can a hotel still tell a story with the most sophisticated technology with very, very little human interaction? I mean, when you distribute your product on online or an electronic distribution channel, all you can do is really maybe add video pictures of all your rooms, and you're not even in top sometime of the verbiage that OTAs put on their portal in order to describe your property. So how can you still take control of the way you talk to your potential audience?
Okay. I think it's not a question of technology, actually. As I said in one of the slides, you have to inspire your customer. You have to inspire the customer to finally search for you and to book you. If you are unable, it's a very negative approach now, but if you're unable to inspire the customer about your product, you're doing something fundamentally wrong. Clearly, it's a question of technology as well, how many pictures, what sort of quality, but verbiage, I don't accept that, because, I mean, just this fact that the OTAs have professional writers, the tour operators 20 years ago had as well. I think a hotel can do the very same thing and, put the right verbiage in. If I look at certain hotel content databases today, I find hotels that still have breakfast rates in Italian lira. Why is that? How long is the euro around? 15 years? I've got no clue.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. But there are still breakfast rates in Italian liras, and it's not very difficult to change that. Yeah? Why is that? Yeah?
Because it's cheaper.
It's cheaper. Yeah, it probably is cheaper, yeah. So 10,000 liras, yeah, probably would be cheaper, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the approach. They simply forgot. And I think you shouldn't complain if you forget about these things, that you're unable to inspire your audience. So technology obviously needs to support you there, but inspiration starts here.
Thank you.
Some I'm going back to mobile, and our mobile book has different customer segments with different needs. Or they are the same segment of customers, just booking through a different engine, a different machine.
Well, that the drunk Japanese, no, they're not. No. It is in part a different segment, but I think you are a different segment as well during the week compared to the weekend. Take me. In the week, I'm traveling a lot. I have about 180 days in hotels every year. And I'm a very service-intensive traveler Monday to Friday. I'm old school. I want a travel agency. I'm stuck. Take yesterday, I wanted to land in Florence. There was rain and wind here, and they brought us to Bologna. Yeah, it was great. And I want to call a travel agency immediately to help me. Yeah, I want to send them an email. Listen, I'm stranded in Bologna. Help me. That's Richard Wiegmann, Monday to Friday. On the weekends, I'm a lot more relaxed. I might decide with my family on a Saturday morning, we want to go someplace, to Berlin, to Cologne, to Munich. We want to drive there, and I'm just booking it online. I would never do that during the week. What I do during the week is I land in New York City, I get into a taxi, and I'm starting thinking, oh, what hotel am I staying at? Yeah? So I look that up, I look up the street and tell the cab driver where it is. So I think it's not, yes, it is a different segment that books mobile, but we're all changing segments as well.
Richard, you said that there's a deterioration of brand loyalty. Now, the consumer doesn't trust the general recognized brands anymore. So, what is the next step we can take to engage people's or customers on brands? I mean, if they lost loyalty on brands, what and how could we engage them in? I mean, if it's experience or technology.
I'm now going to show my gold cards here. Yeah? It's Lufthansa, British Airways, and Emirates. People are not loyal. I'm not loyal. Yeah? I'm loyal to my wife, I'm loyal to my family. But guess what? Because I'm German, I'm loyal to Lufthansa? No. Because I travel regularly to London, I'm loyal to BA? No. If Lufthansa is cheaper, I take Lufthansa. I like Emirates, actually, I have to say. Yeah? But I'm not going enough to Dubai just to always change in the middle of the night to go to somewhere in the Middle East. I'm not loyal. I don't think loyalty exists. Loyalty is created, and I'm not going to leave them here. Loyalty is created, but customers, just a small thing needs to happen, and then there is no loyalty anymore. What you can do, and if you think about the app and the web, a lot of people said, oh, let's move all our bookings to the app. We're going to spend 100,000 euros and we're building this amazing app. An app is for loyal guests. The web is for acquisition. So you need to acquire the customer first on a pretty cool website in order to get them to your app. Yeah, that's a very, very important thing. And then you might create a loyal guest. You have the chance by giving them a superior experience that they're going to come back. And I have those places. There are hotels I'm going to go back on a regular basis because I get a superior experience. But in general, I would say loyalty doesn't exist, and be very, very careful in investing a lot of money into something, where you, especially as a single hotelier, for instance, get your hands around very, very, it's very, very difficult to get your hands around that.
So can we say that nowadays loyalty is that possibly you suggest your friends, your relatives, your co-workers to experience maybe
that's
that
a new
particular
way of loyalty, probably, yeah.
hotel.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to go back there unless special circumstances, but I'll encourage you to do the same, because on my side, I want to experience something new. I mean, I've been in this beautiful hotel in Florence for 1 or 2 times. Now I want to see something else because I want to look at something new.
Sure. Yeah.
So maybe we...
On the other side, if you travel to the United States and you book a Marriott, you always know exactly what you get. It always looks the same. I think they have the same designer. He already was a designer in the 1960s, I think, and it's the same designer today. It's always the very same experience. It's not what I personally like. I like the individual hotels a lot more, so I'm trying to find individual hotels. But again, during the week when I'm a service-intensive traveler, I'm just happy. I just, want to get to the room. I want to get to my laptop. I got to work on some emails, do tons of calls. I don't get any room service anymore, as you can see, so I can at least go out for a drink and for some food. But if a hotelier, in this case, is able to create a unique experience for me, good, I'll be back. Not always, but
yes,
I'll be back.
Of course.
My last question will be on Google. We've heard the impact Google has. Anything Google does, everyone is keeping an eye on them. You said that in Trust you haven't seen yet the volume probably that you were expecting. But how will Google Hotel Finder change our shopping way, the way we shop for travel, if it will?
Well, they're basically disintermediating the OTA. That's what they do. The good thing for my hoteliers is they're sending the business directly to the website, and the hotelier, and I think this is the biggest change or the biggest opportunity, the hotelier has the change, if you think about the inspiration model and the arrows I was showing, to make that customer a direct booker next time. What we're seeing on Google at the moment is that the commission that is paid to Google through the click program is a lot lower than what is paid to Expedia or to Priceline. I don't think that's going to be the case going forward. Once that is a lot more successful, I think they're going to increase their prices there as well. I'm equally disappointed that 2 years from basically buying ITA software, the flight search comparison, Google is not where I personally expected it to be, but it's clearly someone you need to look out for, clearly.
Richard, I want to briefly speak about the relationship among hoteliers and their business partners, so some kind of OTA. So we have recently seen French and British hoteliers taking a legal action against a few major OTAs in order to just protect their revenue. Do you think this is likely to happen in other countries? And according to your perception of the market, do you believe there is something that needs to change in both parts' behavior, and what should it be? I mean, wouldn't it be easier just be very loyal business partners, each other's?
I think that would be a wonderful world, right? I completely agree. Well, it's very, very difficult to say. I believe, I've seen many companies in the travel space, including big competitors of mine, basically going down, yeah? Because I believe their approach to market, they were not humble enough. But we're going to see a lot of change in the distribution world going forward. Equal partners, I think if Expedia would lower their commission today to 10%, if they would just do that, would they suddenly be considered an equal partner? I don't think so. I don't think it's necessarily about the price. Plus, the hotelier has it in his hands to control the mix. Sometimes it's difficult, but it is possible. Second of all, if a Priceline, if an Expedia, if a GDS, whoever the channel is, has a great idea and brings this idea through and is so successful with that idea, it's good that they get this business. It's good that they have so valuable companies. Yeah? If someone has a great idea, it just means that the others not necessarily had bad ideas, but they haven't had the great idea yet. Yeah? So I don't think it is a bad thing that, for instance, the OTAs are in general a viable channel. Obviously, the individual mix is very often wrong on a property level. Loyal partners, I wish that would be the case. Yeah, I have the same thing with my hoteliers. When I negotiate fees, I want to be sometimes, loyal partners as well, and they think the same thing. I think that's what capitalism is probably all about, that it doesn't always work.
It doesn't always work, yeah. Right. But still, in this scenario, tending to distribution monopolies, what strategy will defend the best, the weakest players? Can you foresee a kind of market equilibrium? I mean, yes, you already answered. I mean, if you're weak, you're out of the market. But then today you're weak, tomorrow you may be the strongest in the market, or today you're strong and you can lose your market share because also according to your behavior with your partners. I mean, with the hotels you distribute or with the product you distribute. There are up and downs. I mean, sometimes you're on the top, and the other side, the next year maybe you're not doing so good. So, what do you think in terms of overall strategy a distributor should do in order to protect his market share?
I think let's take it this way. If you're weak, meaning your cost of sales are way too high, commissions or whatever it is. And if we define weak as economically not successful, which I think is probably the proper definition, the business mix is the answer. You got to make sure, you got to rethink your business. Do I have at least a transient competitive advantage for the property when we speak about hotels here? What is it I can do about my distribution mix? Is it I should just do business with Expedia, Or should I do business with Priceline as well? Should I do business with C-Trip in China as well? You know, suddenly all the Chinese are coming to Bologna and to Florence. It's probably, the answer is a mix of all of that, but it really depends on the very, very individual case. Yeah? If you don't get your story right, the market is going to kick you out. It happens tons of times. People go bankrupt, but then you've done something wrong. Yeah? Or someone else was doing better at something, or was better in doing something. But you have the chance, if you're weak, by the business mix, by the positioning of your offering, to obviously get a lot better.
So do you think parity rate has played a role in making some distributor weaker than others?
Absolutely. Absolutely did. If parity goes away, I think I said it before, definitely search costs will go up. If parity goes away, my personal feeling is people will shop a lot more on the hotelier's website, which is a good thing. That will take business away from the OTAs. But obviously, the OTAs, they're very smart and clever guys. They will find their ways around that and still have a very, very good product offering.
Yeah. So, Richard, I have the last question for you, which is regarding your company. So, do you consider Trust International more a technological partner or a strategic partner in developing business?
Oh. Okay, well, that's a very difficult answer. You know.
Say I don't know.
Well, you know, no. The point is always, you know, you don't want to be IT. You always want to be partner.
Yeah, because it's part of
partner, definitely. We see ourselves as partners, which is sometimes very difficult because, you know, we got to make money. The customers got to make money as well. But we clearly do see ourselves as partners. We are looking for new ways ahead. You know, a little bit of our European roots helped us a lot to succeed in other parts of the world very well. And it's a partnership approach that we have with our customers. We are a service provider as much as we are a technology provider as well. You know, we have technology-backed services, if that's probably the best way of putting it. But whenever you sell technology, you shouldn't forget the service component. And finally, also to be with the customers, which we do a lot. We travel the world a lot in order to be with our customers. I always call it free consulting when I can speak to a customer.
Molto bene. That was my last question. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Grazie. Richard,
Thank
grazie
you.
davvero.
Thank you.
Gloria, grazie. Luciano, grazie. Allora, fra un minuto parte il video di Ortensia e il terzo panel so che è molto atteso. Parliamo di sharing economy.